Hi, I was just about to start working on something today, and then I got this inspiration to talk about something really interesting, something I've been thinking about a lot. So, yeah, welcome to today's episode or today's video. Today's video. I think it's a really key one that obviously by the time it caught me in my scene, my sewing room, I thought it would be something that I would share with you. So if you're new on here, welcome. And if you are here before, you've been here before, I just want to thank you for coming back. So in 2024, I appeared on TV on the Great British Sewing Bee. But I was just reflecting on that today as I was preparing to do some sewing. But it taught me something I really wasn't expecting, that two people can sit at the exact same sewing machine. So now obviously I've got the overlocker and the normal sewing machine, but two people can sit at the exact same machine and still create something completely different. Now, the difference was we had the exact same challenge, we had the exact same time limit, we had the exact same basic tools to work with, and yet everyone brought something different into the room. They had different perspectives, definitely different tastes, and sorry, I'm just also working on something on the side. And so yeah, different perspectives, different tastes, different instincts, generally a different relationship with sewing. And honestly, that came back to me today, and I think, but like I said, I was going to start reading to start sewing, but then I also read 1 Corinthians 12 to 14 this morning about giftings, because I think gifting is like that too. Sometimes we compare ourselves to others because someone appears to have the exact same gift that we have. So it could be an instrument, it could be with, an instrument like a guitar, or in my case, it was the sewing with my sewing machine. Or sometimes it's just the same interests, some same skills, same kind of calling, generally you would say. But without realizing it, we essentially just measuring ourselves against how they're using their gifting instead of focusing on how we're using our gifting. Okay, work with me on this bit. Because I think, what if the point was never for us to, and I believe actually strongly, not even what if, I strongly believe that the point was never for us to create identical work. What if just because we have the same tool, the same instrument, we are meant to create different versions of it for the glory of God and to serve others? Because you see, even with the same sewing machine, people still came out with different garments. Not one person was wrong, but because each person brought themselves into the process. And I really love that bit about it, because again, like I said, it was sewing. You could see someone's taste, someone's preferences out of that, but they put themselves into the process of it all. And I think that's something creatives especially struggle with. We spend so much time watching what everyone else is building. We spend so much time looking at how they're doing it, how fast they're growing, and even like how polished and perfect it looks compared to you, that eventually we stop developing our own relationship with the gifts that we've been given. And I think that's really a dangerous, scary, and sad place to be. Because I believe that relationship matters a lot more than we realize. Because growth isn't about just having a gift. It's more about learning it, practicing it, staying with it, understanding how it naturally links to you, moves with you, moves through you. Not forcing yourself to create a sound like someone else, not trying to recreate another person's path, but learning how to be faithful to your own, and learning how the instrument, the tool, your gift responds to you and how you were wired for it. And I think that's the powerful, it's like the most powerful thing you could ever do for yourself. I think, as I said, I was reading this in 1 Corinthians 12, and Paul just puts it so beautifully, because Paul spends so much time explaining that there are different gifts and they have different functions with different expressions, but it is the same Spirit that gives it to you. So yes, the same Spirit gives it to you, but because he does that, it is meant for you to understand and explore how the Spirit wants you to use that gifting that you've been given for growth and to serve people. See, God's body, or the church, was, or even as a creative, you were never meant to function through sameness. And I think as creatives, we probably know that, because the whole community aspect, the whole being of the body of Christ, and generally how we are all wired to live together, is that the whole system functions through difference. And yet somehow we keep treating that uniqueness that we have, that amazing brilliance that we have, as a problem. And I think that is really such, like I said, it's scary. And I pray that we recognize that the uniqueness is not a problem. It is actually the beautiful start of it all. Because we end up, like, we compare ourselves. Someone's quietness seems to be a problem. So basically, you compare your quietness to someone else's boldness. You compare your process to someone else's momentum. We also compare our beginnings. Oh, that's a big one. We compare our beginnings to someone else's mastery. And once we start doing that, then I think this is where we get ourselves starting to wonder why we feel disconnected from ourselves. And like I said, going back to the sewing bee time and just reflecting on that, it reminded me of something really, really simple. Just that mere fact that two people, oh gosh, I wish I could explain it to you. It was just so profound a realization, because genuinely we did have the exact same machines, but people created different things with it. So it is a proof that, two people can use the exact same instrument or tool and create something completely different, and yet still beautiful. I mean, take a guitar, for example. Someone might play a jazz, sounds, acoustic, like there are different versions that people would play with guitars as well. So I think what should be the focus? I think growth and maturity, to be very honest, it's more about being faithful to your own instrument. So yes, you've got the guitar, you've got the sewing machine. Be faithful to it. Like I said, learn it, practice it. What is the relationship you have with that gifting that you have? Not just constantly, looking sideways here and there, comparing, not needing to make sure that your work looks identical to someone else's before you trust what it is, because you honestly don't know the other person's story. You don't know how they've come to it. You don't know what they've gone through to be able to make it that way. And it's those personal experiences that shape how a gifting comes out of someone. And so there's really no point in trying to work so hard to be someone else, to do your gifting like someone else. But I would rather you focus on developing it, develop what you've been given, and learning how you naturally create with it. And, keep returning to your hands and your heart. How does your heart feel about what you're creating? if your piece is not there with it, then I would suggest just taking some time, step back and reflecting on it. Just take a moment to just catch yourself and think about it. I think I like being, I'm just trying to think of a practical way of doing it. So maybe instead of constantly asking, why don't I create like them? Why don't I do things the same way as they're doing? I've got the same machine, got the same instrument. Why am I doing the same? What am I doing wrong? Maybe the better question to ask is, what is my relationship with what I've been given? How do I work? You could end up like, if it's a guitar, maybe you just play with one chord and make sounds with that one chord. Someone else could be working with, I don't know how many, I don't know. I don't really play guitar, but you get what I'm saying. Because like I said, I'm beginning to realize that clarity doesn't only come from thinking harder. Sometimes it comes from staying with your craft, practicing it quietly, learning patiently, and allowing your own voice to emerge over time. Honestly, there's no need to rush it. Practice takes time. I mean, like perfection, but getting to really understand something takes time. As a baby, you never started walking before you crawled. Like there's principles to this. There's an order to this. There's a sequence. There are steps to how things happen. And part of that is actually being patient enough with the process. So again, just going back to just remind us that someone else being gifted doesn't take anything away from you. It really doesn't. So maybe they're just creating something different based on what they've experienced, based on how they've learned, based on what comes naturally to them. And maybe that's just them doing something different. So how about you do that? Discover your relationship with the instrument, your relationship with your gifting, and lean more into that. And I would even go as far as saying, maybe part of becoming who you are meant to be is finally giving yourself that permission to stop comparing and start developing your own relationship with the gift in your hands. And yeah, so that's what I really felt so strongly to share today. And I would really honestly I'd love to know what's something that you've realized about the way you naturally create. I know the world has different ways of saying it's a bit not usual, but what is it, something that you deeply feel works better for you? Yeah, so feel free to share that with me in the comments. And if you found this video helpful, please feel free to hit the thumbs up button over there and share it with someone who you believe would benefit from it. And also please do hit subscribe, because I really feel I'd love to share more with you. I'd love to connect more and help you through your creative journey, or even just your reflective journey, to just be more intentional and slow down enough to recognize what is within before you start to put things with outside externally. So yeah, I'm Comfort, and I hope you've enjoyed that, and I will see you in the next video.